There you are. There you are.
I'm also muting all of you. Aha, the power goes to my head. I think we're going live. It always takes me a second to verify what's happening. So if everybody will give me just a second, we are definitely live. It's Monday, man. What is today? September the 20th. This is Parents Helping Parents Live. Thanks everybody for joining us. I am technically messing some things up. Okay, great. Here we are. Man, thanks everybody for being here. Welcome to Parents Helping Parents virtual chapter. This is our live stream format. So do me a couple favors before we actually get started with the live stream tonight. Watching live on Facebook, reach over, click your like button and your share button. It's the number one thing you can do to help us spread the message. There's going to be lots of great content shared tonight. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, that quite literally some of the things that you hear from our guest tonight could save somebody's life. So you want people that you're friends with on Facebook who might be struggling with substance use disorder, or who have a family member struggling with substance use disorder, to hear this, click share. That's how we make that happen. So welcome to Parents Helping Parents. We're a group of volunteers, parents, grandparents, friends of someone any age who might be dealing with a substance use disorder. And our mission is really simple: caring parents, offering hope through resources, education, and shared experience. So we've only really got one rule here at Parents Helping Parents, and that's what's said here stays here. So please feel free to share, feel free to ask questions. We don't point fingers, we don't judge, we just try to support. Many of us have actually had some of the same questions that you've had. Many of us have had the same experiences that you've had. A few of us have been able to find some answers. So we try to listen, we try to share our experiences and the things that we've learned on our journey, and we try to share some of the resources that we've uncovered along the way. As an organization, Parents Helping Parents has no professional expertise. We've only walked in the shoes of a parent or a loved one. So our mission is limited to providing information, resources, and support. This meeting, any meeting or outreach that Parents Helping Parents offers, should never be considered a substitute for professional counseling, legal advice, financial advice, or medical services. All of those things are really great and appropriate, and we want you to get them if they meet your, if you need them. We just don't offer those services. We're the kind of the middleman. We'll connect you with those things, but just don't mistake us for doing those. So in addition to that, we love that you're watching the live stream, that you're a part of this virtual chapter. But if it's at all possible, I want to encourage you to connect with one of our local chapters if you're in an area where we have those chapters. There is no better support than a community of people getting together to help one another, to support one another, and that's what our local chapters have to offer. So for information about those chapters, you can go to our website, parentshelpingparents.info. You can find out where those chapters are, when they meet, how to get plugged in. You can also find all the information for upcoming events, like our annual Hopeful Horizons fundraising event happening on October 13th here in Oklahoma City. So browse the website, check it out. You don't want to miss out on those things. During tonight's live stream, feel free to comment and ask questions. You can do that a couple of different ways. You can comment in the live Facebook feed. I will be watching that and monitoring that for questions. Or you can text our live text line. That's 413-384-9244. It's also in the title of the video, so don't freak out because you missed it. It's in the title of the video that you're watching if you've got questions. Now, we do our best to get to those questions. We can't always get to every question, especially when we've got a lot to talk about like we do tonight, but we will do our best. So remember, any questions or comments you make on Facebook are online and are public. That stuff is there forever. So if you're concerned about your privacy, if you're concerned about your anonymity, use the text line. That's private. No one will see your information there except for me. And I will not share names and specific things that you might ask on that, just generalities. Couple of last things. If you would like to be on our undisclosed email list, please comment your email address on the Facebook feed or send us a private DM to our Facebook page at Parents Helping Parents Inc. All we do is send out meeting notices, quarterly newsletter, no spam or anything like that. Also, if you'd like to participate as a volunteer, help with meetings, help get speakers, get trained to answer our helpline, spread the word about a chapter, all of those good things, let us know through a DM. We could definitely use your help. The best way to stay in touch with us and to spread the word about what we're doing with the virtual chapter is to follow us on Facebook at Parents Helping Parents Inc. If you're not following us, you should click over and do that now. So one more reminder, now that we've got some people watching, reach up, click the share button on the video that you're watching, share the content, because we're about to really have a blast with all of our guest speakers. So I'm going to bring everybody on to the gallery view now, so we'll be able to see everybody's nice shining faces. You guys can unmute yourself if you want, but before we officially get started, I owe somebody a huge apology, and I need to make amends to my brother Dustin Huckabe, because even though I triple checked it like 9 times, when I did the advertisement, my gorilla fingers misspelled Dustin's name on the thing. So Dustin, I'm sorry. It's not because I don't love you, and I didn't tell you this, but I am going to pie my face at the end of the live stream. So we're going to wait till the end to do this, because I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to get all messy at the beginning. So if you stick around, you get to see me get face pied with the whipped cream pie. Now, Dustin, here's what I will tell you. This isn't just for you, because on Sunday, I said to my wife and my 14-year-old, I said, hey, I think I need somebody to put a pie in my face on Monday. Before I could even get it out, my 14-year-old's hand, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. And I'm like, I look at him, he was like, I got a lot of feelings to work out, man. So that is awesome. This is both a therapeutic experience for him, apparently, and as my apology to Dustin, who said I needed to get pied in the face. So we'll do that at the end.
Accepted, contingent upon the pie in the face.
Contingent upon the pie in the face. It's happening. I went and bought the whipped cream stuff to make the whipped cream pie this afternoon. So
yes.
Hey, here's what we're going to do, everybody. So we have kind of all compiled a list. You guys gave me a lot of feedback. I took that. I kind of made a list of some of the biggest questions that parents ask from professionals and from people in recovery. So we're going to kind of make our way through those things. We've got 3 questions that are kind of about what's happening before people go to treatment, what's happening there, what's happening in treatment, kind of what's happening after treatment. So we're going to work our way through all those questions. But before we do that, we need to know who we're talking to. So ladies first, that seems fair. Just kind of quickly introduce yourself, tell us about you, where you're from, and what you're about, and then we'll kind of round robin it.
Okay. Good. I'll go first, I guess. So my name is Jessica Helmka. I'm a licensed alcohol, drug, and mental health counselor here in Oklahoma City. I've worked in a variety of settings, from residential treatment. I worked at community house. I worked at North Care, outpatient mental health, and addiction resources there. I also did a little bit of time in a methadone clinic, not very long, but I've had a wide variety of experience. And now I have a private practice in Northwest Oklahoma City, and I see individuals for addiction recovery and a variety of mental health issues. But I also have a strong emphasis on family recovery, because addiction is a family disease. So I have a weekly family group that I give. It's a therapeutic process group / psychoeducation. So learning about things like the disease of addiction and common obstacles that most families encounter when they are trying to overcome addiction in their family system. So I have family members meet once a week, and I have a curriculum that I follow that I've written, and it lasts 6 months, it rotates. And I also have workbooks that family members complete worksheets as they relate to the topics that we talk about. In the best case scenario, everyone in the family is involved. And so the person with the addiction would also be getting services individually and have their own workbook that follows the same format, just as it is appropriate to them. And so the end goal is that everyone be able to find balance within that system, within themselves, to then become a stronger family unit. So that's just in short what I do every day.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jessica. So glad you're here. Blondie?
I'll take it. I don't know how I follow Jessica, because she is phenomenal. I'm grateful to have her on this panel with me as the other woman in town. But I'm Kyearra Morris. I represent a lot of things, but most importantly, Stonegate Center. We are a Christ-centered, 12-step, high accountability, high structured residential treatment program. We are right outside of Fort Worth, Texas, in a little town called Azle. Absolutely beautiful. We have an all women's program, for women by women, and all men's program. Been around since 2010 and network with most major insurance. We work with families to get their loved ones into treatment. We're 45-day minimum, up to 90, so we're longer term treatment. But most importantly, I am a connector of resources. So I have an AMP group here in Oklahoma City, well, all over Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and Missouri. Soon to be Missouri, super excited about that, as well as Arkansas. But what we do in the community is we provide just this, resources for the people in need. And so my job is to connect those resources in any way, form, or fashion, networking, doing events like this, speaking opportunities, whatever the case might be, just to get the resources to connect so we can better help those in need very quickly. So there's not a lot of people missing that, making 50 phone calls, that sort of thing. We're kind of a one-stop shop of trusted resources all across the board. And so if I could introduce myself in any way, it's just a connector of resources, but I'm blessed to be able to represent Stonegate here today.
Awesome. Kyearra, man, so glad you were able to join us.
The Huckabe.
Hey, I can just, it's weird. I thought I could hear myself. Hey, everybody. Thanks, Derek, so much for allowing me to be on here. So I am a person in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is that I haven't used any mind-altering substances since 2011. So I think that's always important to let people know that you can, if you're in recovery or thinking about it, you can end up in spaces like this. I always used to think that these spaces were only contingent for people that went to college and, you know, just were living way above me at the time. So I think it's important to self-identify there. I'm also a master level social worker, and I'm also a certified clinical trauma specialist, and I represent stages of recovery. We are a 90-day transitional PHP and IOP facility. So we are in the continuum of care for aftercare. Typically, if somebody has gone to treatment for 30, 45, 90 days, they would come to us, and we provide wraparound services for them and their loved ones. Like Jessica said, we also believe that it's a family disease, and so we don't want to leave the family out. So every Tuesday night, we've got a free family support group. And Stages of Recovery is also an intensive outpatient program here in the great state of Oklahoma. And so hopefully we will be up and operating in October. And much like Kyearra said, you know, I like to be part of the community. I'm in recovery myself, and I like to connect people. I like to collaborate. I think that people get the best help when the community, the recovery community, I guess, quote unquote, like kind of the gatekeepers come together and provide services for the individual and the families. And so I'm really honored to be here, and thanks for having me.
Awesome, Dustin, man. Thanks for being here. Great. Big C, Big Charles.
Yeah, thanks so much, Derek. Yeah, really glad to be here. My name is Charles Gosset. I am a certified life purpose coach and a certified professional recovery coach. And for those that are interested, the certifications are through the International Coaching Federation for the life coaching and through the International Association for Professional Recovery Coaches for the recovery coaching. And my business is called Full Integration Coaching. It's fullintegrationcoaching.com. I'm located in Northwest Oklahoma City, War Acres, actually technically off Northwest Expressway. Looking out my window right across the street, and I can see Hideaway Pizza. So I'm in between Meridian and MacArthur. I see a lot of heads. So
Delicious.
Let's go get some pizza after the pie. Maybe after the pie, we'll go get some pizza. So yeah, I'm also a person who identifies as being in long-term recovery. For me, that means that I haven't had to take a drink of alcohol in a few days. So actually it was 15 years this February.
That's great.
And yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful. And everyone on this panel, and I think everyone probably watching live or the recording, knows the struggle from various different points of view and what substance use disorder addiction can do to an individual, to a relationship, to a family. So my role is a little bit different as a coach. I am definitely also, like everyone here, a big connector, I love to find resources and direct folks to those resources. I'm just one person. So here we have 5 of us, and then all the folks who are watching along that are also resources to help address this, this issue that's mounting, that is addiction and substance use disorder. What I do on the front end for folks that are looking for, let's say, treatment or help with a loved one, a coach doesn't treat an individual for addiction in that initial phase. If they need detox, for example, I can help that parent or individual find detox. In fact, I was just on a call before this with Dustin, trying to look for some resources for a friend. And so that's part of what I do on the front end. And then other resources along the way. As an individual stabilizes and becomes more secure in their recovery, then that's really where recovery coaching comes in fully, working one-on-one or with families to really maximize the life of the person in recovery. Coaching is a very client-centered approach, and it's an empowering approach. It's a professional relationship where power is shared equally, and ultimately where the client receives a bulk of the power and they build and grow their recovery along with their goals and sense of purpose.
All right, man. Hey, thank you guys for being here. I'm not gonna lie, like this feels like really like we've got the best of the best. It's like that scene in what's that movie, Men in Black, where he's like, you know, why are you guys here? Like, we're the best of the best of the best. Like I feel like that's you guys, right? Dustin's shaking his head. You don't like Men in Black?
I love Men in Black. I just wouldn't say I'm the best of the best of the best. Like the bars that are really low. I mean, these other people might be, but I love Men in Black. I mean, gosh.
Well, for you, it's a documentary, but we won't get into that. That's a whole nother podcast, right?
That's true.
So let's me and Dustin have all kinds of conspiracy things going on. For the people that are like, I don't understand that. Me and Dustin could talk about Bigfoot and aliens and shadow people this whole time, but we're here to talk about addiction and treatment and recovery. So without further ado, let's start knocking some of these questions off our list. These are questions that I think that we've all kind of agreed upon in some way, that we hear these questions over and over and over again, maybe in different ways, but it's kind of boils down to the same question. So the first question that I'd like the 4 of you as our experts, not me, to answer is, I've got a loved one that's using drugs or alcohol. Can't they just stop? Why do they keep making such bad choices? I think we hear that all the time as professionals, as people that are in recovery. How do you answer that question for families?
I'll go. So I actually just helped answer this question. Someone posted a meme on Facebook recently, and their intentions behind the meme was great, and it was basically like, you know, I have a alcoholic dad, and you have 2 brothers, and one went down the right path, one went down the alcoholic path, and choices were made, right? Like that was the theme of it, and the intention behind it was great. But the messaging, I think, is missing the point of what substance use disorder really is. It is a brain disease, and it is what it is not is a moral failure or a willpower issue. And I'll repeat, it's not that. And so I think that society has kind of warped our minds to think that it's you could just leave it alone if you wanted to, type of a mentality. And I can tell you that I wish there were many, many times that I had high resolutions to leave drugs and alcohol alone, because of the people that I was hurting around me. And I couldn't, because somewhere in my brain, I was in a fight or flight response. And that's how I used drugs and I used alcohol. And it overtook me to where I didn't have the power to choose anymore. So without, you know, I could sit here and talk another 10 minutes just about that, but I'm going to let the other panelists chime in on that.
Well, I'll add to that. I mean, right in line with that, you know, that's a lot of what I was thinking. But to add to that also, that, you know, I tell clients, as I'm sure many people do, that quitting drugs, that's great. It's obviously important in achieving recovery, but it is one of the smallest things in recovery, because now I have to deal with the reasons why, the things that I am running from, my emotions, learning to regulate them, right? So being able to stop, yeah, I can stop. When I was in addiction, I could stop every time I passed out, stopped, right? But when I woke up and I was left with myself, I need to stop that. I need to stop being raw without that crutch, right? As addiction becomes the center of the universe, it is the solution to all of my problems when I am on that orbit of addiction. And an orbit has inertia, and it keeps going and going and going until something knocks it out. And so I have to be connected to help. I have to start the journey and become educated about those neurobiological facts of addiction, that it's not because I'm a loser, because I think that alcohol or whatever other drug is more important than all of the things that are in my life. It's that it has hijacked my brain. It has taken over my life and distorted my reality of the world and of myself. So when people ask me that, I say there's layers of issues. Everything is on a spectrum of severity in life. And so one person might have 50 layers while another has 20. So it's an individual journey that has lots of complexity. It's just not that easy.
Yeah, excellent, man. Thank you guys. Anybody else want to weigh in on that before we take the next one?
I think they both covered it very well. Dustin, I'll piggyback off of you and say that it's definitely a disease. Let's take genetics into play with that. Some people say that they skipped that gene, and others say that they were blessed to walk a different path or make other choices. But piggybacking off of Dustin, it's not a choices sort of thing. So,
yeah.
And I know, Charles, we've had this conversation a lot, or we did even on the podcast about, me being the black sheep in my family and it skipping me genetically. And sometimes I have to catch myself saying that when I say it, because it can be misleading, as Dustin put it out there. It's a very scary thing when it's a genetic sort of situation. So I know Charles can talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I think the answers that are there are excellent. I'm just reminded of what Jessica, you shared from a sponsor. Now, sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous mentioned to me one time. He mentioned to me, to everyone at every meeting. So he's one of these old timers that had a lot of wisdom. And he said, "Oh yeah, step one in Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, I could quit. I quit 1,000 times, but it's staying stopped that was the problem, and it's those underlying conditions, and it's sort of one way of understanding this brain disease, this medical condition that is addiction or substance use disorder. And for me, I can identify, I tried to quit thousands of times. I wrote the most sincere, heartfelt, core to my personality message, a promissory note to my entire family, and put it behind our family photo on the mantle, and then was drunk in 3 days on the floor, whiskey drunk and crazy. That's not what I planned. These aren't things that we want to do, that individuals, that loved ones that are suffering. So it is an illness. There was maybe a period early on in our addictive journey where we could choose, and it was fun and it felt good and it was the solution. And then we just had to do it to cope. And then later on, it turns into the monster that it is, and it controls our life despite the negative consequences.
Yeah, you guys have already kind of moved into our second question, so I'll see if anybody else wants to weigh in on it, because I think what Kyearra said and Charles, what you said, kind of address that. Is addiction a short-term issue or a lifelong condition?
I would say that it's a lot for me. I think it's a lifelong condition. And the reason why is because so here's the deal, like your brain has a plasticity to it. And what that means is that when I infect trauma to my brain, which is drugs and alcohol, given a period of time, let's say a full year, those neural pathways rebuild upon themselves. And we like to call it in the recovery world, the fog is lifting, right? And that's what that is. It's your brain, bouncing back, literally. And it's marvelous that happens. However, that's contingent upon a few things, right? That's contingent upon my daily maintenance of my recovery, the people I'm around, what am I doing for my mental health, right? And so, the thing about alcoholism and drug addiction is it's insidious, right? Is that it sits there and it's almost waiting, and right, because my brain remembers that. And if I have a bad day, if I'm not doing the things that I need to do, then something could spark that. And the way that my brain used to remember of how to cope with things is go right back to that. And then 9 times out of 10, I'm starting right where I left off because my brain remembers. And so for me, it's a lifelong deal. And the beautiful thing about 12-step recovery and smart recovery and these other recovery outlets is that a lot of times it's one day at a time. You know what I mean? It's a one day at a time deal. And I approach one every day. And then all of a sudden these days start piling up on top of each other. And I start getting a little bit of daily reprieve from that. And so I think it's a lifelong condition, but it absolutely can be mitigated for sure, given the right supports.
Yeah. I want to remind parents, I feel like there's going to be family members that are watching this who are like, man, they're just bam, bam, bam through these questions. And partly that's because we have a lot of questions that we want to try to answer tonight. But I'm going to speak for the 4 of you in saying that, I've put the websites and the social media feeds for all these people in the Facebook comment section. So if you're listening and you've got a follow-up question to something that one of our panelists is saying, if Charles says something or Dustin says something or Jessica or Kyearra says something, and you're like, okay, I kind of get that, but what about, and you've got more questions, I can guarantee you, shoot one of these people a private DM on Facebook, shoot their organization a DM on Facebook. And if they don't answer it, I know somebody from their organizations, if it's not Dustin or Kyearra, somebody from Stonegate, somebody from Stages is going to be able to follow up with you and answer all those questions. So don't be afraid that we're going through these too fast, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to spark your brain. I'm trying to spark your heart so that when you've got more questions, you've got a group of people that you can reach out to. So next question, guys, the pre-going to treatment phase question is, should I attend a support group or counseling to help me living with someone who has a substance use disorder?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. The way I like to explain it to people is, as addicts, we create this swamp with our choices, with our traumas, with maybe, a lot of it, some of it's not our fault, but we make choices along the way, and the swamp gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And kind of like as in line with what Charles was saying, is that he had best of intentions. So for a moment, he came out of the water, but he's got this swamp and he doesn't know how to swim. And he keeps finding himself in the swamp. So when he's in the swamp, he's drowning. And what do drowning people do? They flail about and they grab anything that's around. Well, unfortunately, oftentimes that's family members. And family members, they take a running jump and swan dive willingly into the swamp because they see the family member drowning, right? And then they get pulled under. And the family members hold them under. And then they're, maybe they come up for a second. So everyone has suffered. And so everyone needs to recover. Everyone needs the opportunity to drag themselves out of the swamp and shake it off and assess the damage. Because with recovery comes relief, of course, but then comes work. And even in the best case scenario, resentment can come up. Quite often, like, oh, now you're the picture of recovery and you're, towing the line and doing all this do right. What the hell have you drugged me through for the last 20 years? And now all of a sudden you're the poster child, right? I mean, rightfully so. So everyone needs the opportunity to have their feelings and their hurts validated so that we can then become stronger as a unit. If you don't know how to swim, you don't know until you know. So you have to go see somebody who can tell you how to do that and how to do it effectively. And so the best way to do that is to get your own help so that you can be as strong as you can and heal right along with the person who has the addiction.
Yeah, great. Well said, Jessica. Thank you. Anybody else want to weigh in on that question?
I will just a little bit. Self-care is very important. Anyone who's ever been around or loved an addict for any reason, shape, form, or fashion has had to deal with putting themselves aside for the needs of others. And so another thing that that support group will give you is not only a chance for self-care, to take care of yourself and show you the ways to start putting yourself first, but it also provides you resources. Most of the people that go to these support groups are people that this is their first time. They don't want to tell their people at church. They don't want to tell their friends. They don't want to tell their family. Support groups are safe spaces. They're safe spaces for people that are going through the same things, have been, currently are going, or have lived that experience, and they are there to support you and welcome you with open arms, non-judgmental, a free space where you can speak your mind, be angry if you want to be angry, say the things that you wish you could say to your loved one and get the reaction that, you know, might not be the greatest reaction, but it gives you support and guidance and strength. But most importantly, resources. A lot of the people that are in this situation don't know where to turn, don't know who to turn to. And if any of you have gone to a support group, the first thing that they tell you is, we're here, open arms, ready to hold you when you cry, be there when you're angry, be a backbone for you when you need a backbone, but most importantly, guide you through all of those things. Finding resources like us in the community. We are very well connected to the support groups, allowing them the opportunity to learn about us, and, you know, leaning on us as people in the community, resources in the community to step in and say, I can help that family. I can help that loved one. And so resources, love, connection, guidance, all the above are things that you get from those parent support groups like this.
Yeah, great.
Well said, Kyearra.
Yeah, thank
Great
you
point.
guys.
Mhm.
So let's have a for instance that families got support, they're building their network of support systems through some sort of support group. We've got a good understanding about what addiction is, that it's not a moral failing. And now our loved one is actually maybe ready to seek some treatment. There's been a shift. They're finding some motivation. These are the questions that I think we hear the most often as professionals and people in recovery from people who might not fully understand treatment. So the first one is, what do you mean there's different types of treatment options? Isn't treatment, right? Like, what's the difference? So why don't somebody tackle that for a minute or two?
I'll go. As a person that represents a treatment facility, and I get this question probably most often, is first and foremost, treatment is necessary. And there are levels of care. And I know you're going to ask a few more questions leading into a lot of things I'm going to say, but it is very important to learn the appropriate level of care, the continuum of care, as we all know. But when we use language like that continuum of care, most of the people that we're talking to have absolutely no idea what we're saying. So knowing that we're going to have to educate that loved one on the other end, what levels of care are, what medical necessity is, the hoops that you might have to jump through to get someone into treatment. I wish sometimes it was a copy and paste ordeal, but as Dustin and every single person on this panel can attest for, is there are so many obstacles that come up when you're trying to get someone into treatment, whether it's their own personal boundaries that they're throwing up, or if it's financial barriers to treatment. There's, you know, state barriers, legal barriers, all kinds of barriers to seeking the right level of care or the right treatment for your loved one. But the biggest point is finding a local resource, connecting a local resource. We all do this all day, every day, connecting families to resources. Any of us are available to answer those hard questions. My loved one is ready for treatment, now what? And so that's pretty much the first question I get. They're ready, what can I do now? And that's when Dustin or Charles or Jessica or Derek, you can step in and say, okay, what are they using? How much are they using? You know, are there any mental health obstacles that we're going to face. Is mental health primary? Is addiction primary? Those sort of things. And just being able to know what that loved one is going for and finding the best placement for that individual's needs is huge. And that's what I want the parents that are listening today to know is, let us be your professionals. Let us be that person that bridges that gap for you. Let us be the ones that ask those tough questions about what is best needs for your individual loved one to seek whatever level of care. So there's detox, there's inpatient, there's residential, there's partial hospitalization, which is also known as PHP. There's IOP, which is intensive outpatient, and then there's outpatient, sober living, AA groups, sponsors, all of the above. There's so many avenues to seeking treatment. I want them to know that there are people out here that can answer those questions for them and explain to them what each level of care is, what that entails, and that they're not walking that path alone. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I could jump in a little bit on that too. Stages of recovery is, transitional living, so sober living, right? We also are PHP, the partial hospitalization, and the IOP, the intensive outpatient. But we also accept individuals every day that need that particular level of care. Maybe they need to go to Stonegate where they can just relax. It's 24-hour care, all of those things. And then they step down to an IOP, PHP transitional living. And that's really what we recommend, is that they go through a residential facility and they come to us, or if the residential isn't a viable option, you can still come to an intensive outpatient program. Stages of recovery is a little unique in the sense that we have transitional living in PHP and IOP. So I would also like to cap this off a little bit with, talking with people with empathy, right? Like Brene Brown talks about shame, right? And she talks about shame being the swampland of the soul, right? And the only way that we can get to vulnerability, right, is walking through that shame, letting people hear what's going on, and get to that place of vulnerability, being able to see that. Here's the deal, and I'm just going to be very honest with this. None of us on treatment. That's not what we do. We sell hope and we sell purpose. That's what we do. Everybody on here, that's what we do. And that's the thing, is that we want to be that path of hope and healing for that individual. And that's where I start first, is, of course, I ask all the questions of, how much you're using, what are you using, that sort of a thing. But I know that person's in pain, and that person just needs a voice to listen to. And I'll tell you this, I've had people that are in so much pain, right, that they're listening. I'm approaching them that way, and they will cuss me out all day long. They will. I am the worst human being that has come to their life. And, we'll get them into treatment, and that fog starts to lift, and they're getting regular food and regular sleep, not passing out. There's a difference. And then, a month later, I get a phone call and I get an apology, and that's awesome. It's like, look, this is not personal, but I want to get you help. And I think Kyearra definitely nailed it on the head there.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm going to do, for the sake of time, I was too ambitious. We're never going to get to all these questions, but I want to get to some that I find particularly powerful and want you guys' opinions on. So in order to skip a question, I'm going to tag the four of you in a comment with this question, so that after we're done, you can go back to the comment section and maybe type in a little bit of an answer, like, hey, here's kind of what I think about that, so that people can come back and read that question. So if you see a tag come up, that's what that is. I want to kind of move down, because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going fast. We got like maybe 15 minutes tops. And I think that these are some really great ending questions, in terms of like post-treatment, after a loved one gets through treatment and we're moving out, kind of what's happening. And so the first question really is, what expectations should someone have for a loved one post-treatment? Somebody's coming out of treatment. Let's say, for the sake of the discussion, somebody's been to residential treatment. maybe they've done 45 or 90 days of residential treatment. They're coming out of treatment. What are the expectations that loved ones should have for that person? Not everybody at once.
Well, I'll step in and say there's not an end all be all cure all of addiction. Dustin talked about it a little bit earlier, one day at a time. Recovery is a lifelong commitment. You have to be committed to your recovery. And your support group, hopefully while you're there for 45 days in treatment, they're also working on themselves in a support group, and getting the help that they need so they can better support you, but also that treatment facility is somewhat working with that family on that relationship and what that looks like coming back. And so I know specifically when Stonegate is doing aftercare for a client, they're working with the family. They know that they've got to educate the family on the fact that this person is going to come out better, but not cured. So it's going to be a day-to-day choices, decisions, learning how to cope. That's what they're learning in treatment. They're not taking a miracle pill that's going to cure them and they're never going to use or anything because they took this pill in treatment. They are learning tools to help them in their recovery, but they've got to work the program. They've got to use those tools and those coping mechanisms for when they are triggered, for when they're out of treatment. And places like stages of recovery are going to be that accountability for these people. We still want to reunite them with their families, but they need those guys or those women that have been through treatment that are currently going through the same thing. They need that structured accountability. So hooking them up with aftercare for sober living and for outpatient services to continue that. A lot of people that go through treatment have experienced a lot of trauma, and connecting them with EMDR, continuing that's a lifelong commitment of how much work they're willing to put into their recovery. I know Dustin and all of them can talk more on that, but as far as aftercare goes for Stonegate and what that looks like for the family, my job as someone that's once again a connector is to connect that family and educate the family on be a support, have healthy boundaries, but also work on your resentments. I know Jessica talked a little bit about that, but you've got to work on yourself in order to support that loved one. And it's going to be a day-to-day program for you as well. So.
Great point. Yeah, and when I heard that question, my immediate thought was expect nothing, right? Because we know that expectations are often unrealistic, which means they're premeditated resentments. So the best thing to expect is that they are going to do the very best that they can with what they have. And I mean their open wounds, their ability to regulate their emotions. But within that, to keep your eyes open, are they connecting to their resources? Are they attempting to make progress, right? Are they trying to engage in things? And as I talk here, is that will help them achieve balance of their whole self, their mind, body, and soul. And when they do that, you see behind me these boards. This is a representation of the foundation of what I teach is the perimeter of support. That I create a perimeter of support for myself, and that it consists of things that are informed by what I value. So are they getting in touch with what they value, and is it showing in the people, places, and things that they are connecting to? Not that they're perfect, not that they're going to be this regulated human. That is an unrealistic expectation. And then it is also dictated by those layers of issues that a person has to now address, right? But are they making efforts? And that will be if you have your eyes open to that. And then also, if you are also engaging in holistic recovery, which is what that is, you will have your own perimeter of support created, which enables you to delineate between things like giving a hand up versus a hand out, to recognize small victories instead of only honing in on what you thought should have been or what they need to do, or right? And that gets you all out of balance. So expect that there is a journey to come, but it doesn't have to be terrible. It can be exciting and fruitful for everyone.
Yeah, excellent.
I would like
Charles.
I would like to ask Charles because Charles has a really unique niche. And what is, what does that look like from a recovery coach standpoint? You know, someone's getting out of treatment. Like what does it look like?
Yeah, no, thank you all. Everything that was said, first of all, it involves that, you know, these different stages that individuals are in. I really like the idea of expect nothing. That resonates with sort of the mindset and the approach that I have. But also, I might add just a little flip to that and expect change. Things will be different. How, that is unknown. And so because there's been this distance, maybe this is residential, so this is physical distance, maybe you've seen each other a little bit, maybe you've engaged as a family unit from time to time. Hopefully you've been attending Al-Anon meetings and getting some great care, and you have a sponsor and you've been working through some of the steps, and you've gotten maybe into step 4, 5, and starting to really look at yourself so that you're ready for your loved one if they're coming back home or somewhere in your family circle, because things are going to be different. And if they've been making progress, then so have you. And who knows what that looks like coming back together, right? But what's really exciting about a recovery coach perspective is it's the question of what's next. What's next? So there's where you've been. Okay. And you've still got some work to do, right? You've still got some trauma to address. You've still got some mental health concerns you need to address. You still have some IOP or some other types of care that you need. Okay, continue to see those specialists. And then maybe with the recovery coach, what you can work on is, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be now that you're in recovery, that you've been through a portion of the treatment phase? What does it look like to live the rest of your life and have it be the best of your life? And if anyone's listening that may be experiencing substance use disorder, that sounds like a ridiculous statement. The little cute pillow in the back says, do more of what makes you happy. That was the farthest thing from my mind for about 16 years, and especially 10 of them. Very dark, very, very dark. So when things started to change and an individual experiences some healing, they put on a little bit of weight in treatment, they start to deal with some of their challenges that they've faced, they're really ready to enter recovery. And that's where a professional recovery coach can come in and meet the person where they're at and say, okay, you know where you've been, what's next? Let's really connect with, again, your values. Absolutely, that's what I do. But your sense of purpose. Why? Why are you here? What's next for you? What does that look like? Why do you want to do it? And then how? So it's really about taking a person from functional living to optimal living.
Great. So what I want to do is I want to wrap up. I've actually tagged you guys in a couple of questions for you to go back and comment on the feed on. But I want to wrap up my last question with the question that came in from the text line, because I think they're interwoven a little bit. So the last question that we've got is, what is long-term? Well, it's kind of a series of questions, but you'll get it. What is long-term recovery? Aren't we done after treatment? And how do we help families find balance between hope for somebody that's struggling and the reality that many people are going to have frequent relapses and be on this kind of longer term journey that's not just a sobriety destination post 90-day treatment?
Wow. This is what I want to say first.
And you got 4 minutes.
Yeah. So quickly, what is long-term recovery? I think for me, I define that as it's a psychic change. It's a change. I've got a different perspective and a different outlook on life. Long-term recovery is that I'm active in my recovery journey. I'm doing what I need to do to maintain a level of recovery, right? And that's going to look different for everybody. What was the other question? Because there was so many.
Like, how do we help parents or people find balance between the idea that we have hope for change, but that there's this reality that lots of people have frequent relapses and are on this recovery journey that's not just like this one-stop destination?
Yeah, I would say just quickly, and I'll let other people talk too, but I think understanding what recovery might look like for people. It's not a linear deal. and it changes for everybody, and it looks differently, and it molds itself. So for me, I was a chronic relapser. I tried to get sober at 18 years old, and I did not sober up until I was 23, and I was in and out of 12-step recovery meetings. And there's definitely a period of hope for my mom, not hope, period of hope, not hope. Right. And it's like Jessica said, that is trauma happening to the family. Right. And we've got to get help. And so that's how I'd answer that. I think is just understanding what addiction is. It's not a moral failure. It's not a willpower issue. And that relapse sometimes is a part of that recovery journey. We just want to make those relapse periods, if that happens, a lot shorter, a lot more acute, and then that so that we make sure that we're getting them into safety, because the reality of it is it's life or death for some people.
Right. And if everyone in the family is focused on their autonomy and their ability to maintain their own balance, and remembering these things to be objective, that it's not personal, even though it feels very personal when your loved one continues to relapse or make bad decisions or do things that are hurtful to you, right? Being able to recognize where you end and they begin. And when everyone in the family has the same idea that everyone is in recovery, everyone in the world, every single person needs to have balance of self, mind, body, and soul. And when I run everything through my values and my priorities, and I learned that I need to act upon my life, and especially act upon this addiction in my family system, instead of reacting with fixing and making excuses and running and hiding and yelling and whatever, right? Because that makes me just as out of balance as the person with the addiction and without a perimeter of support. And when that happens, I am vulnerable to attack from all directions. And I don't know up from down. And I'm like, I as addiction does with the family, with everyone in it. So I have to be able to center my energy to then be able to make decisions that are helpful for me, and then will consequently be helpful for the whole family, and recognize what I can and can't control. There's lots of answers to that.
Yeah. So here's what I want to do to kind of wrap up. I want each of you, and we'll start with Charles and Kyearra, and then we'll wrap up with Jessica and Dustin. But I want each of you, if you had 30 seconds, and I mean 30 seconds, to deliver a message of hope to a family or to someone that's struggling with substance use that might be watching this video tonight or on YouTube or on Facebook later on, what would that 30-second message be? Charles?
Yeah, tonight, my message of hope would be, if I can do it, so can others. And it's not just about me. That statement is not about me. It just means the things that I've been through that I don't have time to go into. Psychiatric institution, jail, suicide attempt, violence, lots, gang violence, fighting, lots of destructive thoughts. This is hope. There is another reality that exists, and it's just one choice away.
Awesome. Thank you. Kyearra?
Biggest part, recovery is possible, recovery for everybody. And there are compassionate frontline people that are quote unquote experts in this, ready and willing to help you every step of the way. You're not in this alone. And I guarantee you, if you asked anyone in your close circle if they've experienced addiction, probably most of them have, either with a friend or a family member. It happens to everybody. And so you're not alone. There are resources. There are compassionate individuals ready to help you. You just got to make the call and have us in your back pocket. And even if you don't think you need it now, or you've got things handled now, it's good to take mental note of the resources available for if that relapse or if that crisis happens, you're prepared.
Okay. Excellent. Jessica, 30-second message of hope for anybody listening?
Just a lot of what they've said, but also, to just start the conversation. There is help, no matter what you've done, no matter what opinion you have of yourself. You are capable. You are capable of overcoming the addiction. You've just got to start the conversation. Put one foot in front of the other. Make a phone call. Whatever it is that you need to do. There is help. There are people who care. There really, really are. So just begin the journey, and manage your expectations of yourself. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being right or wrong. It's just about learning to know yourself and then love yourself. And that sounds foreign, I know, but it's possible. It really is.
Great. Thank you. Huckabe with 1E.
Yeah.
30
So
second message of hope.
I would say that you never, ever, 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 this goes for the individual with substance use disorder and the family, you never have to feel what you're feeling right now ever again, because there are resources. There is viable solutions to what you're going through. We understand that there's a lot of shame, right? And that we understand that we have to walk through that shame to get to some vulnerability. And when we do that, we have somebody like everybody that's on this panel in our back pocket. It makes that a little bit easier. And like I said earlier, we're not selling treatment, right? That's not what we're in the game for. We're selling hope. We're selling a new way of life. We're selling freedom. And we want to be able to walk with you in order to get to that point so that you can be the person that you've always wanted to be, right? And maybe reach a level of autonomy that you never knew possible. That's what recovery is all about.
Awesome. Hey, real quick, while my family gets the whipped cream pie ready and the other person gets a giant towel from the hall closet. Hey, like a couple of things. I know we're going to close with something silly because I made Dustin a promise and I hurt his feelings and I'm sorry. Thank you guys, one, for who you are as people. And the fact that like I know each of you, I've had coffee with each of you, I've sat down with each of you, and I know that you guys like legitimately just want people to be healthy and that you care about people and that you love people and you do that really well. So thank you guys for that. And thank you that out of that, who you are, you bleed over and all the great things that you do for the community in Oklahoma City and in Texas and in all these places abroad. You guys are amazing. Thanks for your time tonight. You could have been anywhere. You chose to do it here. So,
Well, thank you,
Dustin. I don't know if I would do this for anybody else, man. So I'm going to tell you, bud, remember, you can't just like whack me as hard as you can in the face.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
It's going to go everywhere and it might like injure me.
Let me get a screen recording of this.
I know.
I'm also going to unplug.
This is amazing
stuff here. So also you're welcome for allowing you this wonderful opportunity. Dustin, this is my amends, I guess, which is weird. I've never had a pie in the face amends before.
You're willing to go to any length, and I appreciate that, my friend.
All right, it's all you, bud. I can't believe
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Get it out. Absolutely wonderful. Look at
it's
that.
delicious.
Yes.
Hey, thank you guys. Join us next time on Parents Helping Parents when Kyearra Morris takes a pie in the face.
Oh,
I'm down.
it's
down.
all for recovery.
Good night.
But pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Pumpkin pie.
Ooh, yeah.